Oh, this is the last thing. Can you say, hey, this is Jamie Ivey, and you're listening to the Live Alive podcast?
Yeah. Just say it or look somewhere.
You just say it.
Okay.
Imagine you're on the podcast, on a commercial.
Are you going to put my commercial voice on?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, ready?
Yeah.
Live Alive podcast. This is a joke, and then the next one will be for real.
Okay.
I want to joke.
Okay. Hey there, this is Jamie Ivey, and you are listening to the Live Alive podcast.
All right, welcome to our podcast. This is the Live Alive podcast. If you're new, I'm Jeremy.
I'm Chris. Here at Live Alive, we're all about chasing down the abundant life that Jesus offers. And honestly, it's a real struggle sometimes. It's hard to live the abundant life. Life is painful. There's sickness. There's stuff that happens in life, and it's not always easy. But we're trying to figure this out together.
Yeah.
And part of this podcast is just figuring out how do we live this abundant life out here in Orlando and wherever you are right now. How do we live this abundant life?
This week we interviewed Jamie Ivey. So if you've been with us, you know who we are, but you might not know who she is.
Well, we are missing two people right now.
Who are we missing?
Pez and Dylan. Pez and Dylan are not here. Dylan is at a blade show for his company, DG Blade Co.
Heard that before.
Pez is on vacation.
Right.
But we're here, and Jamie Ivey is about to be here with us as well.
Right. Well, not here.
Not here. We actually were in Memphis with her.
Right.
And we were there honoring the life of Dr. King. And
Yep.
we had just been at the Lorraine Motel, the place that Dr. King was shot dead.
Right.
And we were there exactly to the minute 50 years after he was shot. And right after that moment, we walked a couple miles back to the hotel.
Right.
And Jamie and Aaron Ivey also met us there at the hotel. I was a little nervous because we were only scheduled to meet with them for 15 minutes.
Right.
And what kind of podcast can you do in 15 minutes?
I get a person's name in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
You know. But actually, it went pretty well. Jamie was super cool, and so was Aaron. He was in the room, and we talked to them for a long time. And so we're really excited to present to you guys what they talked about, and here it is.
I dove into the happy hour.
Yeah.
And I love the first episode because
Wait, the very first episode ever?
The very first episode. I was listening.
Is that the only one you've listened to?
I've listened to a bunch.
Okay, I'm glad that's not the only one. Please.
I listened to the first one, and what I really appreciate about it is your voice just shows up. And you're like, I don't really know what I'm doing, but we're just gonna do this.
You guys, the microphone I used was my iPhone headset that I got with my phone. That's what I used to record my first probably 20 shows.
That's so cool. And that's kind of where we're at. So we're just
no, you're not. That's a lie.
It looks,
that's a big lie.
It looks like that.
It's blue. And this is awesome.
There are a lot of cameras on and lights.
No, but we started out not knowing what the heck we were doing.
Yeah.
You know, but there's something about just jumping in and going for it, which is really
good
cool.
for y'all. I love it.
So I don't want to surprise you with new questions either.
Are we on? We're good. We're rolling. We've been rolling. I know you've been rolling. I've been seeing that. Okay, here we go. You can surprise me.
Oh, I can surprise you?
Yeah.
Okay. True or false?
Uh-oh.
This is the best podcast you've ever been a part of.
Oh, definitely true. We haven't started yet, but I'm going to go with the true.
All right. Made it. That's it. All right. Shut up. Shut down.
Cut. We're done.
All right. So my name's Jeremy. It's Chris. You met everybody else. Jamie, glad to have you on the
Thank
podcast.
you. I'm so glad to be here.
Awesome. How you been enjoying the conference so far?
It's been really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been encouraging, eye-opening, challenging. Mm-hmm. It's been good. Yeah.
Who's been your favorite speaker?
Well, I have to say Jackie.
Yeah.
But I'm a fan of hers so much anyways. But I also really enjoy when Dr. Perkins starts talking, because this is what I noticed when people are interviewing Dr. Perkins. They just say, "Welcome to the stage, Dr. Perkins," and they don't ask a question. They don't do anything. And then he like stands up and he does his feet and then he moves, and I am a fan.
Oh, boy. We actually interviewed him yesterday morning at his hotel, and he literally was getting on his knees, throwing his hat, and we're like, "Sir, please, get back in the chair."
Oh, that's awesome.
It was amazing.
It was awesome. We asked him to say a soundbite for the podcast. He didn't really know what we were saying. He just started saying stuff, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
He's just a cool guy.
Yeah.
Well, can I ask you a question?
Please.
Okay,
yeah.
so far you've done a lot of interviews this weekend. True or false? Have I been your favorite? Okay, you had to
We interviewed
That's
Dr.
not
Perkins.
fair.
I don't care. I just told you that you were my favorite. You just say yes.
Well, so far, this is my favorite.
Okay, see, I like you.
I'll have to plead the fifth. Okay, so let's get to the point here. So, Miss Jamie, you live a full life, so it seems. And I think that's something a lot of people that listen to our podcast really love. Like when we told some people we were interviewing you, a lot of the ladies in our church community and around the world were like, "What? No, are you serious?" And so excited that we had this opportunity. And I think what they resonate with so much is that there's a liveliness and something that is an outpouring of something more. And we on our podcast talk about the abundant life a lot. I mean, that's kind of the baseline of the whole thing. And just in your opinion, we ask usually the first time guest or anybody is, what to you, or rather, what is the abundant life that Jesus talks about, that he calls us to? What does that look like, and what does it even mean?
I think the abundant life by the world could look, and even someone could look at my life and be like, oh, she has the abundant life because she gets to do fun things, and she has a fun job, and her husband go on dates, and they've got a cute family. Like, that could look abundant. But I think anybody can get that. You know, anybody can get this outward appearance of abundance. But I think when we look at the matter, we go a little bit deeper, and we're like, well, what was Jesus actually talking about when he says this? And I think Jesus, what I see when he talks about the abundant life is, are you living in the joy and the freedom and the peace that he offers us? And so I think for that to transcend, that's not the American version of abundance. Whatever he's saying, it has to equal everywhere. And so abundant life can't mean podcaster, date nights, cute family. But abundant life has to also be available to anybody who's a follower of Jesus. And so for me, I think you're living in the freedom that he offers. You're living with the peace that passes all understanding. You're living with the fruits of the Spirit. You're allowing your life to be joyful in all circumstances. And so that's what I think of when I think of the abundant life.
Very cool. It seems like you're also well connected with your friends, that you have strong friendships. And I think that is just something a lot of people really desire. Can you tell us more about how do you maintain, how do you keep friendships that are fun, encouraging, and everything in between?
Yeah, I think that's a big question that women are asking these days, of how do I get friendships that are deep and they have meaning, and they're going to last the test of time and pain and sorrow and triumph and all those things. And I always say that good friendships take a lot of work. I'm a person who, I don't need a lot of friends. I would rather have some really close, tight group of friends.
Right,
yeah, that's easier for me. But I think friendship takes work. I think it takes a lot of investing. I think it takes a lot of listening and trying again. A lot of my friends, a handful of my friends, I have been friends with for over 15 years. I can think of 2 or 3, right now. And then I have a handful of close friends that we've been really close over the last 6 or 7 years. And I think it is a matter of trusting, and you earn trust and you give trust. And so I think those come in really good friendships.
Yeah. I noticed on one of the stories you were sharing on one of the episodes of your podcast, I don't remember which, but you were talking about how you, your husband, and a bunch of your friends, you stayed up till 2 or 3 a.m. one night, just having fun together, eating food. And it's not like you guys are in college. You have jobs, you have kids, It's something I love about your life, listening in on what's going on, because I think we really resonate with that. We're in a community of people that we don't have an agenda. We just want to have fun together.
Yeah.
We want to be a part of each other's lives and be real. So how do you begin to foster that kind of lifestyle where you can do things like that?
Well, I would just like to go on the record to say that if you're over 35, I don't recommend the 2 a.m., 3 a.m. dinner party. Those happen a couple times a year with us, and they're always worth it, all joking aside. Yeah. But for the next 4 days, I'm like, I am not in college anymore. This is dumb. But once again, I think it comes from just a shared love of certain things. And it doesn't, shared interest for sure, but it goes deeper than that. We have friends that some of the only things we have in common is that we love Jesus and we love good food, and so then we kind of put those things together and they become really close friends. I think it takes investing time. My husband and I both have careers and we travel some. And so for us, sometimes it takes a little inconvenience to make those time to set everything aside for just this couple, and it's always worth it, but sometimes it's harder. And so I think that's what, and I talk to a lot of moms who are thinking, I have these kids, I don't know how to make time with friends. And again, I always say, I know it's hard. I get it. I used to be there. But it takes work. It takes missing a nap time. It takes going to another friend's house and bringing a pack and play and setting it up. It takes meeting at Chick-fil-A for breakfast when you really just want to be in your pajamas, but it's a place where your kids can play. Yeah. So I understand the struggles, especially with young moms trying to get these lasting, deep friendships. But it's hard work, but it's worth it to keep pressing in.
Yeah. We actually have a listener who sent in a question, and you talked about moms, so I figured I would just ask this question now.
Bring it.
What would be your encouragement to a stay-at-home mom balancing being home with babies but still wanting to pursue dreams and make a difference?
Oh, I can feel her heart.
Yeah, that's Emily from Orlando, Florida.
Emily from Orlando. Yeah. I understand because I was there. Like, I remember when I had young babies at home and I was just a stay-at-home mom, which that's not true, and I put it in air quotes because it's not just what you are, but that's what you feel like. I remember that. My husband traveled all the time, and I felt like I had these dreams and passions inside of me. My advice to Emily is this. Number one, your job that you have in front of you is very important. It's very valid, and it's not less than. No one is doing better work. You aren't doing less work. You are doing exactly what God has asked you to do. I also say this to Emily and everyone else that's in those situations, is that if God has put dreams and passions in you, He hasn't put those there just to kind of toy with your emotions. But He's put those there, and maybe we don't know when those are going to come out and when those are going to play. It looks like, oh, Jamie's been doing this forever. I didn't start my career till after all my kids were in school. Not because I couldn't, but because I knew that that's where my focus was. And so I would say there are ways to foster those feelings and still be committed to your kids at your house. But I get it. But I would also say this to Emily and anyone else that's in those situations, is to be really careful not to find yourself sitting in discontentment all the time, because that season will go. All of those babies will be gone, and you don't want to look back and feel as though God gave you some precious time to invest in your kids and your community in that certain season, and it kind of just went away because you lived in discontentment. And also, discontentment doesn't change when our circumstances change. And so just be really cautious that you're not always wishing for the next thing, because when you get that, guess what? You're going to still wish for the next thing. Yeah, and so to focus on, this is where I am, this is the season God's put me in, how do I do my best work with where I am? Because it's not a mistake where you are, and so don't think that it is.
Well, you just made her life. So, lightning
Lots of love to you, Emily.
Lightning question, does the key on your necklace have any significance?
Yeah, the key on my necklace, it actually says sanctuary, and I interviewed a woman recently. Her name is Holly Hayes, and she runs an organization for women coming out of trauma situations, whether that be trafficking, addiction, jail, and they make jewelry. And so she gave me this necklace.
Cool. Awesome. Very cool. So we have a mutual love of Haiti and all things of Haiti. Can you just give a brief background of just how you got involved with Haiti?
Yeah. When my husband and I lived in Tennessee, we had our 2 children, and I got the opportunity to go on a mission trip to Haiti. And it was a huge step for me as a mom, because my youngest was 1, and I somehow bought into the lie that once you had children, you didn't do big things until they left the house. And so for me to go on that trip, not only did it change the whole direction of our family, it did a lot in my own personal life. And so I went on this trip to Haiti. I would not have been able to tell you where Haiti was on a map before then. I knew nothing about it. I had never visited a third world country. And it was life-changing for me to see what I saw. I'd never seen what I saw. You know what I'm talking about. I had never experienced the desperation that I saw there. And so that just sparked something in me. And so when I came home from that trip and when we decided to add to our family again, Haiti just kept rising up to the top of that. And so we have our two of our kids were born in Haiti.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Man, so how do you, with your kids, you have 2 kids that were adopted from Haiti, one domestically, and then one, is it called naturally? I don't know adoption.
Came from my body.
Yeah, right out.
Biologically.
How do you, like, I guess my question is, so I have 2 kids, both biologically, not from me, from my wife.
I like this from now on.
Yeah. In and out. So how do you keep up their cultural background and engage them in that while also like creating a sense of unity, even though it's diverse?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. That's, a bridge that we've had to cross for sure with 2 of our kids being from Haiti. We're very proud of their Haitian culture. To be completely honest with you, one of my kids, it has been a little bit of a struggle for him identifying as a Haitian. For all kinds of reasons, from adoption and trauma, and he was there when the earthquake, all kinds of things. But, we're very proud of it. We've taken one of our kids to Haiti to visit. One of our biological son went with us to Haiti to visit the country. And, culturally, my husband makes some of the best Haitian beans and rice you'll ever eat. Yes. And and so for us, it's just it's on our mind and it's on our conversation. So we talk about Haiti when things on the news come on Haiti. It's fun to watch the Olympics with Haiti. And so for us, we want them to be proud of where they are and also proud to be an Ivy. And I wasn't born in Haiti, so I am not Haitian, but I am teaching my kids to be proud of where they're from, but also it gives us an opportunity to really talk about the whole world, and about how God is the Savior of the world and not just the American culture that we might live in, that people might buy into. And so it gives us an opportunity to really impress on them God's desire for all people to know Him.
That's awesome.
I have a question to follow up with that. One of the things that we're passionate about is learning how to create environments that allow people to belong to your community before they believe. And I was wondering if you could speak a little bit to that, just like how we engage, how should we be engaging the lost? And if you want to add some of that to just people that are different from us, how do we begin to do that?
Yeah, I think when you talk about bringing people into your community when they're not even believers, I think that's just called doing life with people. And, there have been many instances where we will invite people into our home, either that we know from school or from work. I can think of a great instance a couple of years ago when we lived in another city, and my husband worked at Starbucks, actually. And it was a time where he really wanted to kind of get out of this Christian bubble, because he was in a Christian band that traveled to churches and all of the things. And it was one of his favorite seasons is to engage in the culture in the world, and inviting people into our home was just, fabulous. For us today, that looks exactly the same, even though we both work in Christian ministry. It means, our neighbors, the parents of people that go to of our kids, meeting people at restaurants that we frequent often. And so I think it is just a matter of bringing people in to what you already do, because we're not trying to hand them tracts and ask them to pray the prayer before they leave the house, but we just want them to see people and see the way that we live. And then that would be an example of hopefully we would have an opportunity to say, here's the hope that we have. Or when crisis occurs, here's how we deal with that in our family. Here's how we parent. And then just to be able to show them Jesus.
That's awesome. You mentioned another city. So I think from what I learned about you, you lived in Nashville, correct?
Yes.
And then you moved to Texas.
Yes.
So we have some friends from Texas, and they don't shut up about Texas.
I was born in Texas. See how I felt?
Do
you see how I felt the need to tell you that?
I knew it.
There's some fire in her eyes now.
I just wanted to know,
We're
are
Texans.
you at that level, but you already were at that level from birth.
So I'm a Texan.
Okay.
I lived in Tennessee for 5 years, and then we came back home.
The better tea.
Yeah. Oh, you're Tennessee. So
No, I'm not.
Oh,
I'm
you're
just saying. You think Texas is the better tea than Tennessee.
Well, I mean, I don't know that we are very proud to be Texans.
Okay, sure.
It's Yes, we think
That's
that
cleared
we're
up.
our own
Got it.
country.
Okay.
Yes, so I'm a Texan.
Our friend Judy, who's actually been on the podcast, we rolled up to her house one day, and she actually has a mailbox with the Texas flag.
Oh,
on
for
it,
sure.
in the middle of Orlando.
We have a ginormous, how big is that flag?
15 foot by 20 foot.
We have a 15-foot by 20-foot Texas flag that hangs out at this property that we own. Yeah.
Oh, man.
My brother has the flag tattooed on his, that's what Texans do.
Sure. That's what they do.
That's what we do.
Hot take. Over under 5 songs your husband has written about you.
I don't understand the question.
I don't even understand the question.
Your husband's a musician.
Yes.
Aaron.
Uh-huh.
And has he written over 5 songs about you or under 5
Under.
songs? Under 5 songs.
I'll take it even further. Over or under 1? Under.
Oh.
My husband writes songs about Jesus, and
Okay.
if I'm at church and I'm feeling, and I'm not Christ-like, sometimes I try to imagine that the song is like, how beautiful you are, might be about me, but it's always about Jesus.
Oh, that's great.
You seem like you're married to a great guy.
I'm married to a great guy. He writes songs for the church, not his wife.
Let me ask you this. So I'm not going to presume or guess your age, but I will say this. I don't think you're a teenager. So what are you learning about Jesus now that you wish you knew as a teenager?
But I kind of want to know how old you think that I am.
23.
You're lying, but thank you.
If you have 4 kids, I'm going to say, honest answer, 29.
Oh, you're dumb.
Okay.
Okay.
That's true. So, okay.
I actually, in less than a month, will be 40.
Really?
Wow.
I know.
Okay,
I know.
I seriously was going to guess 33.
I
I'm not
know.
even joking.
Yeah, not joking.
I'm telling you, I'm like on this kick right now of telling people that, and then I feed off of that. No, not really.
Yeah.
I'm about to turn 40, and I am super excited about 40. I'm telling you, it's going to be my best decade yet.
Yeah.
I already know it.
Okay.
In all seriousness, I do not fear getting older or turning 40, even though it does. I remember when my mom turned 40, I think we had a party and everyone wore black. It was just a different thing.
Me too.
Yeah. So, no, turning 40, looking back, at my 20s, I just started following Jesus when I was 21. And so I brought a lot of shame and guilt into my relationship with Jesus because I grew up in church. So I knew all the rules. I knew I'd broken them all. I knew what I was supposed to be like, and I wasn't. And so when I had this experience of deciding I'm actually going to give God my entire life, I'm going to do this for real, then all of a sudden I felt like I needed to, for the rest of my life, kind of carry this shame so that God would know I was really sorry. And so looking back at my 20s, I spent a lot of my time just feeling really, really guilty for things I had done. And so I would look back and, tell myself at 20, anyone else in their 20s, is that the freedom that God offers through his salvation it's not just for the best people. It's not just for the pastors. It's not just for people on the stage. It's not just for people in their 60s. Like, God is actually telling the truth when he says that I will forgive your sins. He's actually telling the truth when he says, when I look at you, I actually see the righteousness of Jesus. That's not a joke. It is truth about him. And I didn't live with that. I lived in, God looks at me and he's very disappointed in me. Maybe he's embarrassed of me. Maybe he wishes I could get myself together. And so I wish that I believed then what I believe now, because I think I would have had more abundant life. I would have had more joy. I would have had more opportunity to actually proclaim the goodness of Jesus because I wasn't walking in it.
That's a really powerful thing. I think a lot of people, their knowledge outsteps their just actual belief in walking in it.
Yeah.
And that sometimes we say this, that you can't give what you don't have, and yet the Christian rules are like, oh, evangelize, oh, do this. But a lot of people I see doing that, it's like, I don't want your life. So what are you giving me that I don't want that?
Yeah.
And so there's apparently a WWE match going on next door. But yeah, like...
that's what I'm constantly telling women right now.
Right.
Believe, don't just know it. Actually say, I'm actually going to believe this book, because I'm thinking, here's the deal. If you're a follower of Jesus, then you believe that that God put a baby in a virgin's belly, and then we believe that that person was born and never did anything wrong, and then we believe that that person claimed to be God, and we believe that that person was crucified, put in a grave, and then we believe that that person rose from the dead, and then we believe that that person left and went to heaven. We like bank our entire existence on that, right?
It's crazy.
We bank everything on it, and it's crazy, but yet we cannot bank our life on the fact that God says, I forgive you of all of your sins. And you don't have to live in shame and guilt, but you can have freedom and joy. But yeah, we can't take it.
That'll preach.
I'll preach. Do you preach that? Because that'll preach.
I try to.
All right. That's awesome.
So your new book came out earlier this year, 2018. Talk about your new book, If You Only Knew.
If you only knew is a phrase that I felt like I walked around for a lot of years. When I first started following Jesus at 21, about 2 years later, I married my husband who worked at a church. So I married a pastor. And I had walked through a lot of hard years in my teenage years in college, a lot of partying, a lot of underage drinking, a lot of drunkardness, a lot of sexual activity. And so I actually got pregnant in college, ended up having a miscarriage. And so I bring all of this to the table, and then I marry a pastor. And so for me, at the time, I was thinking, okay, I'm kind of in this role. I'm a pastor's wife. I'm not saying that the church where I was at did anything, but I felt as though I needed to have my stuff together. And God had changed my life so much, but I still, like I said earlier, I still felt really shameful and really like, if these people knew these things about me, would they still trust me? Would they still like me? Would they still let me teach their teenagers? Would they still think that Aaron made a good choice in marrying me? And so that if you only knew, I walked around thinking that for a lot of time, a lot of years. And it's debilitating. It is crushing. You cannot live abundant life when you're not allowing yourself to be true and vulnerable. And, the thing is, I wrote a book and I have a podcast and I laid all my cards on the table. I don't think people need to do that. I'm not saying if you've got these skeletons, call up a publisher and write a book or come on a show and say it. But what I am saying is that we have to have people in our lives that we can be honest with and who can say, here's my story. And then even further than that, if I only talk about struggles from 20 years ago, then I have nothing more to say. But do you have people in your life that you can say right now, here's what I'm struggling with today as a 40-year-old woman, married for 17 years. I love Jesus with all that I have. Here's my struggle. And I have people in my life that I can do that to, praise God, and they can look back at me and they can tell me the gospel. They can tell me where my hope is. They can tell me that I am forgiven and that I am set free and I'm a daughter of the King, all those things. And so the book, If You Only Knew, it's very story-driven. It's a lot of my story, but it's a really big kind of encouragement anthem for women to say, you don't have to walk around in shame and guilt. You don't have to do that. And then it's an encouragement to women also. Like we need to be a church that when someone comes to us and says, hey, I've never told anyone, but I had an abortion. Then we need to be the person that sits there and listens to that and loves them and hears it and doesn't put shame on them or condemn them. Yeah. But we treat them as though Jesus would. So that is If You Only Knew in a nutshell.
Man, it's so good. I'm really passionate. I know you're really passionate about women. I'm really passionate about seeing men come alive as well, and I really respect the work you do. And when I was in college, there was something I was struggling with. It's a secret I kept for years. It was a sexual struggle. And I brought that secret to a close friend thinking he would never want to be my close friend ever again because I told him this. Yeah. And when I found out that wasn't true, my life changed. The shame lifted, right? So if there's someone listening right now who has some secret that keeps them living in fear, what would you like to leave with that person?
Man, I want to tell them that the pain that it causes by always keeping it hidden, that's always going to be there. God talks about when we bring stuff to the light, that's when the healing can happen. And so I want to say this real quick is if you're going to bring something to the table, there's a really high chance you're going to get hurt. This is not going to be 100%, this is going to work out awesome every single time you share your story or struggle with a friend. Because the reason why is because you're telling your story or friend to a human who is sinful. And so sometimes people are going to hurt you, but it's worth trying again. It is worth trying again. And so my thing is, I want to find girlfriends in my life who love God more than they love me. And what I mean by that is that they love God so much that when I confess to them, they love God so much that they want to emulate the way He treats us when we confess. Yeah. And so they're going to look at me and they're going to listen. They're going to tell me if what I'm doing is wrong, which it probably is if I feel the need to confess. But then they're going to love me, and then they're going to check in with me, and then they're going to say, how can I help you battle this? Yeah. And so I say, look for people who, man, they love God. Yeah. They love God so much. And then look for people who also, this is huge, who also understand that we are all sinful people. Because people who get on their like high and mighty horse of I would never do that, that's not a safe person. Yeah. That's not a safe person. Because they don't understand that my sexual sin and their sin of pride, that Jesus died for both of those equally. And so I say, find someone who loves God deeply. They love God so much. And find someone who understands the nature of sin, that we are all sinful, all in need of a Savior.
Yeah, that's so good.
I'd be remiss, well, that's the first time I've ever said that word out loud, so I don't know if that's the right word.
People say it, and so you sound great.
Okay, yeah. Like I was saying, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask this question because I used to be some sort of pastor at a church a while back, and a lot of questions from younger girls / women. I don't know when a girl becomes a woman. Whatever, that's a different topic. But they would be single, and they would shrink down a question that would be, where are the Christian guys at? Right? And I tried to mansplain to them. It didn't go well. So for all of our single women out there who are like, what do I do? I would love to be in a relationship with a godly man, but I don't know where they are, and I'm feeling kind of hopeless. Can you provide them a little bit of hope? Because you seem to have your finger on the pulse of younger women right now.
I can provide a little bit of hope, although I'm not on the lookout for nice young Christian men. So I don't know necessarily where they are.
Oh, yeah, 17 years.
Yeah, because I got myself a man. Mm-hmm. I would say to all of those ladies who are saying, man, I'm holding out for the good one. Where is he? Where is this good guy? I think that they're there. I don't want to man bash at all. Mm-hmm. I think there are plenty of good Christian men out there. We hear the same thing at our church. We hear the exact same thing. We've got all of these women who are giving their lives away. They are serving. They are in ministry. And they're looking around and going, where are the men? And it's probably a very valid question to ask. Maybe we need to have some older men raising up these younger teenagers and college guys. But I would say this. I will say that serve, get out and serve. Do your thing. Run the race that God has called you to do. I would also say, I know you're looking for a good Christian guy, but don't let the look for a good Christian guy interfere with what God has you doing right now. I think sometimes young Christian women can get so consumed with, I want to get married. I need a husband. I need a husband by 30 because I'm going to have 3 kids by 35. And then what do I do now? Now I'm 31 and my whole plan is off. And I would just hate for a phenomenal woman who loves God deeply to miss out on what he had for her right then because all she was doing was looking for a good Christian guy. So I don't think I answered your question of where they are because I don't really necessarily know.
Yeah, well, that's not the question. It was to give hope.
To give hope, yes. So the hope is, man, girlfriend, do what you are called to be doing. And I don't think, I'm thinking here, and I have never been to seminary, but I don't think that you were called to be on a lookout for a good Christian guy. Mm-hmm. I think that you were called to love God and make him known. And then God, hopefully, who knows, if he, in his kindness, would he bring you a husband? You can pray for that.
Ooh, surprise guest. Wait, we're going to surprise her in a few minutes. Put the balloons back in there. Anyway, you were saying?
Yeah, no, I'm just, do what you're called to do.
Cool. So I want to give you a curveball question.
Oh, gracious.
I liked how you were saying that you think your 40s is going to be your best decade yet. What's one dream you have for your husband for the next 10 years? And what's one dream you have for your kids over the next 10 years?
Oh, that's a curveball. What's a dream that I have for my husband over the next 10 years?
Okay, bring it. Preach.
Okay, I'll start with my kids. A dream that I have for my kids. You know, I said this to someone the other day. This is what's crazy, is that turning 40. So in my next decade, I will launch all of my children to the world. My youngest is 10. So when I turn 40, I'll have a 20-year-old, two 22-year-olds, and a 24-year-old, which means I'll be broke because they're going to be taking all my money. But my hope for my kids in the next 10 years, and this is not to sound Christian-y at all. Man, my hope for my kids is that they love Jesus. My hope for them is that they follow him passionately. My hope for them is that they would give their lives to him. My hope for them is that they would, man, as hard as it is to say, if my kids all left to go to the nations to tell people about Jesus, I would cry a lot, but I would be super, super proud. And so that's my hope for my kids. My hope for my husband over the next 10 years, Aaron is a super creative man, and so he is a songwriter. He writes wonderful songs that our church and churches all over the world sing. And so I think my hope would be just for him to be able to continue to do that, to write songs for the church. He's going to write more books. I don't know all that was a curveball. I'm getting nervous because he's also in the room. Like, I love you, babe. But man, I feel like Aaron also would say that he's kind of hit his stride as well. That we both feel as though we're in a place where we feel like, man, we feel really, really good about where God has us and what we're doing. And we just want to do more of that for him.
Awesome. Cool beans.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. So how can people follow you on Instagram, keep up with what you and your husband are up to?
Yeah, Instagram's my favorite social media. I'm not on Twitter. I am on Twitter. And also, if you find me on Twitter, make sure you put the underscore under Jamie and Ivy, because if not, you find a woman who's a very avid Trump supporter.
Oh gosh.
It's not me, you guys.
Okay.
So you say.
Yeah, it is not me. So Instagram's my favorite. It's just Jamie Ivey, my name, and then jamieivey.com. You can find everything. And then the podcast is The Happy Hour with Jamie Ivey.
Awesome. What's your least favorite social?
Twitter.
Mine's Google Plus.
Oh, I'm not even on that. Is
I
that
don't
a
even
thing?
know why it exists. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
weird. They try to. Anyway.
Twitter's hard for me because it feels very angry. Facebook, it seems I can't keep up with. But Instagram is very happy. It seems like a very happy place to be. And I like to be happy, and I like to be surrounded by nice people. And Instagram feeds that for me.
Cool beans. All right, we're back. Chris is flipping through a book on air. What book, you might ask?
This is If You Only Knew by Jamie Ivey.
Oh.
It's funny that I'm reading this, and we just interviewed Jamie Ivey.
That is bizarre.
It almost seems like it's planned.
Is it?
It is.
Okay.
All right. So you should definitely be following us on Instagram this week, at Let's Live Alive. And as Jamie mentioned, you can follow her on Instagram. She hates Twitter. Don't follow her on Twitter.
Don't follow me on Google Plus.
Yeah, don't follow him on Google Plus if you even know how to get to that. But we're giving away Jamie Ivey's book this week, If You Only Knew. And she even wrote a message in the back. We actually handed it to her while we were interviewing her and had her sign it. I'm not going to read the message on air. You'd have to win it to actually read the message for yourself. But on Wednesday, we're going to do a giveaway with this book. So make sure to be on Instagram with us.
If you only knew how cool it was to have this book, and the only person that will be the winner of the giveaway on Wednesday. Now, listen. That was a fun interview.
It was.
I mean, it was all over the place. I think we started off a little, whatever about who was a favorite interview. Obviously, we were her favorite, but that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But that's actually, I think, our last interview of this season. We are winding down the season.
We are. Where are we headed?
Well, I'm pretty sure we have 3 episodes left. And
3 or 4, give or take. We got to figure that one out.
3.5 episodes left. Y'all, tune in. It's going to be interesting. I don't know where we're going. Like, we literally, I think, will be going somewhere.
We'll probably be going somewhere. We actually got to interview today, before we did this interview, or did this recording, we got to interview a friend.
We're not even going to tell you. We got people coming up. We have so many surprises left in 3.5 episodes that you got to keep tuning in. Rate us on iTunes. Give us the 5-star, 4-star.
Or if you hate us, just give us 1 star.
Sure, but tell us why at least.
Tell us why you
so
hate
we
us.
can fix the podcast for the people. And we want to keep making episodes. So we got about 3.5 episodes left. We're going to be taking a little break over the summer, coming back with a season 2, hopefully. But that's on y'all.
Well, I want to say one thing about next week, though.
Okay.
So I won't say who we talked to today. They're going to be on the podcast next week.
Right.
But it's someone who is struggling through life, like all of us. There's things going on in her life that are hard, or his life, or his. But they are choosing to chase after the abundant life in the midst of heartache and sorrow and a lot of things that are going on in their life. And so we're actually going to possibly join them on an adventure they're going on this summer. We'll talk more about that next week.
What? Listen, people, thank you for listening. That's why I said listen. You already are listening, so I don't have to say it again. But because you are, we're grateful. We're thankful for you guys helping us do this and together chasing down this abundant life. We'll see you next time.
Peace.
Let's live alive.